the Palace of Speed. Early on in this race.
The Spec-5 World Tour Round 5 comes to you from New Hampshire Motor Speedway on the road course, bringing you all the live coverage here on HJBC. And it is live as live can be. Looking at these temperatures, relatively cool out there for the 45-minute race coming up. Before we can go racing, Devin Peters, we've got to go qualifying.
Yeah, and these cars roll out and onto what I have to imagine is one of the most uncommonly raced ovals on the iRacing service. Road courses on the iRacing service, the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. But this is a pretty sweet little track when you get a good look at it.
You think this gets used less than the Homestead Miami road courses?
Oh, that'd be tight competition.
You think this gets used less than the Kansas Speedway interior oval?
Oh, you're a monster.
Well, that does because of the rally cross layout. The rally.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a little gem here. Beautiful elevation as we see one of our drivers going up through the S's on the backside of the track. That's Simon Foweather coming back down the hill and now cranking a right onto the infield road here. That gives you some road coursiness to your NASCAR 3 and 4. It's a neat little thing.
Well, those guys are too close to the fence.
Oh, yeah, someone get the security out. What the heck? Yeah, you'll see him coming down here into turn number 1. I think he's overcooked it a little bit there. But we call that one the South Chicane. And he comes up off of NASCAR 2 and onto the banking, and then you'll see him dive down here to the left before he turns right out into this like shockingly elevated and winding little carousel section.
So as always, Spec-5 World Tour is in the Global Mazda MX-5 Cup car. This is an MX-5 iRacing League. And while it's 15 minutes of qualifying, the drivers get 4 flying laps. And this is not the longest lap. Of course, this road course does get an extra mile in or so by extending outside the boundaries of the speedway.
Yeah, it's neat. It's 1.6 miles all in, and we're seeing Simon Foweather finishing up a lap, and we'll see if maybe we can find an onboard camera here. It's a really neat thing. So I think we're now running with Ronnie Coates. That's our points leader and winner from the last race. And Coates is going to show us how to hang it all the way out as he got real close to the wall there. You see this really hard braking zone, and then crank it up and just fly up the hill out here. What you missed on the right-hand side was the giant boulder that just sits out in the open. And come on down. And it's a tricky set of corners through here. I mean, with the camber, you can really carry a lot of speed, but it's also really easy to upset the car. We've been seeing some drivers spinning off to the inside, spinning off to the outside when they catch it. And the curves aren't too forgiving either there. We see Coates jumping them. On the outfield part of the track, they're pretty rough, but on the infield, they get very flat. So you see him bouncing over him here and again on the exit. And then he carries it out past the pit entry, very short pit entry. That might cause some consternation later, all the way to the start-finish line. Fun little track here, and Ronnie Coates is making it look really easy to drive around. He's currently leading with a pole time of 1:13.1, which is the fastest we've seen so far in qualifying, but definitely not the fastest we saw in practice.
I'm looking forward to saying attenuator a couple of times, and I don't think Ronnie Coates quite has the tyre temperature he was after yet. If you've got a particular friend or teammate you want to follow along with throughout this qualifying session and then into the race, HJBC.live has got live timing.
Yeah. Watching Coates get some tire temperature in. And a fast lap there just comes in from Camden Hibbett. We're watching him diving into turn number 1. Hibbett ran green sectors in the first 2, but critically purple sectors in 4 and 5, and purple by a wide margin, a few tenths in each of those sectors. So that's a 1:12.8 for him. And with Camden's real-world MX-5 experience, I wonder if he's done some laps around this thing in the real world.
He's more Ohio-y, Midwest, NASA Great Lakes region, I think. Whereas this is definitely... this is northeast of even Boston, isn't it?
Yep. My rapid Googling confirms that. Another fast lap coming in, this time from a Canadian. Zach Burke putting himself on the pole with a 1:12.7.
How far from here to Mount Washington?
These are excellent questions.
I fancy a little hill climb all of a sudden when you're talking about road courses that don't get quite as much love as they perhaps deserve. So yeah, Pro Class and Open Class in Spec-5 World Tour. Identical cars, identical setups, and there's no split in the grid or anything there. But it's our 2 driver categorizations, and you can see them on the left side of the screen and also denoted on timing by P or the...
I think we lost our colleague there for a second.
In the O in the name, not to be confused by P&O Cruises. There's no cruising here.
Okay. And we're watching now, that looks like Ronnie Coates as he comes across the line. And after warming up the tires for a lap, he's found some heat and some pace too. A 1:12.4 puts him 0.3 up on second place. And Sean Hayes puts in a quick one from second place. That's 1:12.6 as he crosses the line. There's 5 sectors around this track, so the times are coming in fast and furious. Camden Hibbett puts in another quick one, 1:12.4, and that was actually his last of the flying laps. So we're going to have a pretty short qualifying session today. Looks like Otis Adams is still out there lapping. He's turning up the hill. Does seem like there's a lot of cut available on the inside of that hairpin there.
I haven't seen anyone not get away with cutting the right-hander out of the oval. So it seems like it's all fair game if you're game for it.
Yeah. So Otis is coming through the back here. He is currently 9th. We've got what looks like, I think, 14 pro class drivers here today, 4 open class drivers. And I think if the rest of the regulars see just how fun this little circuit is, might be enticed to come back out if we're ever back again. Got Drury Fike parked in the pits there. Mitchell Peak coming around for another lap here. That's his 4th lap as well, 13.5. And now on the screen, Ray Lombardi. Shining in that golden livery. He's got that golden number 2 because he's a big supporter of the league. Make sure these broadcasts can happen. And I think one of those gold numbered drivers is even responsible for the selection of this track.
Yeah, so he's just on his outlap, ready to start all of his qualifying, and he does have enough time left on the clock for 4 flying laps. A lot of other drivers are done at this stage. I think Otis Adams might be one of the last. And then you've got Ray Lombardi, Eugenio Pollicci, and we haven't seen Jose Gonzalez or Andrew Gilliland yet. So there's 2 open class drivers there with no qualifying time. Only half of the field there have actually set a lap. So I don't know what's going on with that.
Otis is coming to line with a 12.9 last time by, hoping to improve. And, it looks like he got a course cut there in the last sector. That's tough. So he had some pretty good sector times leading up to that. Pollicci's coming across the hill in the background here. And watching him come back down onto the NASCAR circuit. This little S's section here on the backside is kind of tricky. It, with how flat it is, it really lures you, it seems like, to want to push it too hard and attract one of those off tracks that's available out there.
And to that point, Eugenio Pollicci's completed 3 laps now, and none of them have counted. Not that one either. So where is he getting in trouble around this lap? It's messy through the opening 3 corners here, but it is on track. That's not on track.
That was loose, and I think we might see him, sure enough, pull into the pit lane. Ray Lombardi's still out, though, doing some laps. He's put in a 13.8 last time by as he's getting the temp in those tires. Cuts all the curb and drives up the hill. Big bike racing track, this, from what I understand. They put a variety of sport bike categories out here pretty regularly. That's got to be a cool flag stand to look at on the right-hand side as you come over that hill. Trying to spot if a flag's coming out while you're looking for the apex 30 feet below it.
So this is to complete the lap, and I note that the racing line is all the way up against those yellow bollards.
Yeah.
The attenuator at the pit entry, so that's definitely going to be quite interesting. Ray Lombardi improves 1 spot, and I think he's got 1 more lap left in this qualifying session.
It's a cold day out, it must be said. 65 Fahrenheit, track temp's only 70, and only just. I think it's been gaining heat. I saw it come in generated 66. A little windy too, 16 mile an hour coming out of the northwest. And overcast feels suitable for New Hampshire. Lombardi's win a couple races ago has done a lot for him in the points this season. He's currently sitting third overall in the points. Ronnie Coates first, Rory Coimbra second. And we got all three of those guys out here today, along with Camden Hibbett, who won last season, but has missed the last two races, which has put him down pretty far, 13th place. But he's currently on pole. We'll see if Ray has anything for him. And 13.0 is quick, but it's not quick enough.
Andrew Gilliland out on track will then be one of the last drivers in qualifying.
Yeah, Young Gun's looking for a little bit of a weather advantage here. Gilliland...
I think the weather was to his disadvantage last round. I believe he didn't race because a storm came through and maybe knocked out the power. We were reading something about that. Him and Camden Hibbett both were unable to race a week ago. So,
yeah, and you see the Aussie logos on the side of that car. Both of them supported by the Aussie folks over there, and I think doing some driver coaching, driver training together.
So it's 92.5 miles to drive from the summit of Mount Washington to New Hampshire.
95 miles, eh? Well, yeah, you could probably make that drive an hour and a half. That'd be a good day of racing. Do some laps around here, go to the mountain next time.
This says 2 hours 40. I think it's including, driving down the mountain, which probably isn't happening at 70 miles an hour.
Does seem likely. Seeing Gilliland taking advantage of all the curb there. I'm kind of interested to see where the passing zones will be out here. I have a feeling that, going out and coming back into the NASCAR track are going to be big, obvious ones. But I also think that that first turn could be one with how wide the track is there. Won't be much in it for a draft, but the pit window is going to be really big today too because of how short these laps are. Gilliland coming to the line now. Open class. Let's see if he puts an improvement in. 14.0 this time by. And that's all he's going to have time for.
Yeah, well, there you go. He just leapfrogs Geordie Fike, and that's just about it. On qualifying, 17 drivers that took to the track of 18, 16 qualifying times. Camden Hibbett is on pole. Last round's winner, Ronnie Coates, starts out of second, and he's the championship leader. That's what the red numbers mean for him. Got Sean Hayes and Zach Burke as the next row for the standing start. Rui Coimbra, Otis Adams, David Barkley, Ray Lombardi, Tom Aton, and Simon Foweather as our top 10. Then it's Brian Jabelski, Mitchell Peake, Orlando Herrell as pole sitter for open class, Greg Mack, Andrew Gilliland, Geordie Fike, Eugenio Polici, Jose Gonzalez. This track does not allow a rolling start. Normally Spec-5 World Tour is rolling start. The pace car driver, it's like against his union contract or something here to do a rolling start for the road course. Luckily, though, it's not like doing a standing start at Daytona on the high banks. I think you can get away with it here at New Hampshire.
Yeah, about 1 whole degree of banking on the front straightaway, as I understand it, and only about 7 degrees once you get really high up in the corners. Gives it that traditional NASCAR racing out on the outside lane all the way around.
They love modifieds and all that around these parts. 30 seconds to green. Open class pole sitter is Orlando Herrell. Camden Hibbett on the outright pole, also with the inside into turn 1. 45 minutes of Spec 5 World Tour racing is about to begin from New Hampshire Motor Speedway.
They're off.
And with the tall first gear, they all try to get away off of the standing start. And it is a great jump from fourth place Zach Burke, who's now challenging up for third. Tyres are cold for everyone. It's a tough, tight little chicane that avoids the banking to open up the lap. There's a couple of drivers trying to carry some speed around the outside of one to get to the inside of two, like Rui Coimbra against Sean Hayes there. Tom Ayton a little wide through two, but Camden Hibbett, I think that's the perfect getaway from the pole sitter. The sequential racing gearbox in these cars has got a much taller first gear than the normal road car does. The standing starts can be a challenge.
They're 3 wide deeper in the field. Andrew Gilliland's held around the outside as he's got the likes of Orlando Harrell and Eugenio Pellicci trying to make a move. Pellicci gets checked up as they're coming up the hill and we're joining the leaders as they go into the carousel.
So the movers and shakers early. Zach Burke making that position up into third on Sean Hayes, who then came under fire from Rui Coimbra. Simon Fower went around the outside of Tom Ayton in turn one. And those two guys changed positions. Foweather's looking to go forward here. And Greg Mack and Eugenio Pellicci also making some spots. Unfortunately, Jose Gonzalez, it appears, the open class winner of last round, not making it to the start of this race, which is quite unfortunate. Otis Adams is in the pit lane. Simon Foweather is around and in the Armco. There's a whole lot going on. Is it a penalty for Otis that we didn't catch? It must be. There's 2 drivers with black flags, Otis and Geordie Fike.
Could be a pit lane, a jump start. Simon Foweather gets a little wrong there and just tags the inside wall. Tags is an understatement, rips the front end off. Do wonder if that's a jump start though.
Yeah.
Either way, that shakes up the field a bit. Otis Adams losing 10 spots, Simon Foweather losing
Fike
7.
takes a drive through, it clears his black flag. Otis Adams drives into pit lane, stops in his box, takes 7 seconds of service, and it has not cleared his black flag. So I think he had a drive through. He's tried to add service, and that's going to mean there's still going to be a drive through, and he still won't have enough fuel to make it to the end from here. It'll be 3 times through the pit lane at a minimum for Otis Adams, as I think he's had a blunder serving a drive-through penalty from what could have been a jump start.
That's tough. That's tough. You got to know the rules if you want to win the race. And has not nailed it there. Rory Coimbra, 5th place, just had a big slide through the S's there. That exit corner is a little tough. We'll see it here. You see him turn in and jump the curb, and the car just goes away from him. Hard to see from that angle, but nonetheless.
Style points. So the biggest gainers out of all of this, Mitchell Peake is now to 8th with 4 positions gained. And Eugenio Pellicci, who we kind of chronicled some of his woes in qualifying, he's also
He's working his way up. Has managed to put in, it must be said, 2 consecutive laps that have times. So really outdoing himself compared to qualifying.
He's in behind Andrew Gilliland, and he doesn't know quite what to do about it with the open class leader.
Yeah, things are getting a little busy back there for Pellicci. I think Pellicci probably has a little bit more outright pace, but he's struggling to be consistent on this track. And I'm just thinking maybe a little lack of familiarity. Like we said, this one is a little off the beaten path in terms of car or track combos. Meanwhile, up at the front, we're starting to see a little breakaway. Camden Hibbett and Ronnie Coates are separating themselves from the field. There's about 2 seconds between Coates and Sean Hayes, who's running in 3rd. But with only 5 minutes elapsed from this 45-minute race, that's a pretty significant amount of gain that they managed to put. Sean Hayes starting to feel some pressure from Zach Burke behind. Burke's got a good run coming up the hill this time in the red car on that yellow one behind. And if he's lucky, he might get there in time to have some overlap. Really hard to make a move here.
There was a long-running Australian home and gardening show called Burke's Backyard, and if he can keep picking off spots, maybe New Hampshire will become Burke's backyard.
Oh, that S looks like a lot of fun to come through the rear end of the car slide and getting out in the dirt. And Burke's got a little draft and a little run. He's going up the inside here into turn number 1.
So a very short dive down with a narrow entry from Zach Burke. Sean Hayes going wide, sweeping back and dropping back a spot. And this is where all the action is, behind Burke and Hayes, with Rui Coimbra, David Barkley, Ray Lombardi, and Mitchell Peak. So last lap from Peak was still good. He's catching these guys. He sure is.
Yeah, he wants to be the second Canadian running inside the top 5. He's currently 8th.
We'll have a draft before the next race, and I'll pick 2 people to be honorary Australians.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Just need to get your recruitment efforts in order.
I'm dead set. We should do that. We should have an off-season or special event Spec-5 World Tour where you draft 8 drivers, I draft 8 drivers.
Sign me up.
That's
2 wide
side
going
by
on the
side
front
there,
straightaway. Yeah.
David Barkley and Rui Coimbra. So I think Barkley's completed the pass there, and he's now up behind Sean Hayes.
That was a tricky little move from him. It looks like Coimbra actually had a little bit of that oversteer again going through the S's. I think there's a bump there that's just unsettling him a little bit. Either way, it was enough that Barkley was able to take advantage and go up the inside. I love this circuit. It really gives me that, like, 1970s international circuit or, present day national circuit kind of vibe.
It's giving me a little bit of Magic School Bus, because everything seems normal in the middle of the oval, and then you just hook these 2 aggressive right-hand turns, and you're out in the fields of New England, looking to farm some of the clam chowder trees or whatever, and then there's the end of the episode. We're back in the classroom on a regular school bus.
Yeah, it's a better metaphor than mine, that's for sure. They're looking a little busy up at the front. Maybe that was just a trick of the eye. Camden Hibbett has been holding off Ronnie Coates. 1:12.2 last time by for Coates. For Hibbett, and 1:12.28 for Coates. They're setting fast laps out there, and there's no one else that really seems to have that kind of pace right now. With a lap as short as this, though, I could definitely see lap traffic playing a role.
Yeah, we're doing, a minute 12s at the moment. Lap times were in the minute 40s, minute 50s at Silverstone, and we go to the Nordschleife later in the calendar. And get out your calendar or your sundial or something, measure your lap times around there. It's a very exciting track, though. I love it, and it's just another one of those circuits where if you put in the time and you've got it, you absolutely adore it. But the learning curve is steep, and there's a lot of learning to do. Same can be said of the Mount Washington Hill climb. There's some other circuits like that where it just takes a lot before you're swimming, not drowning.
You know what? This is a dumb take, but it's my take. Oh, they're busy in turn number 1. Sean Hayes is holding off a move from David Barkley. Oh, and they were side by side on the entry, but the door got slammed on Barkley. I think this might get racy, though, before they get down into the turns. Out, and sure enough, Sean Hayes is holding the inside line. Barkley's got a lot of overlap. Oh, and they're making a race of it, too wide up the hill.
Sure are. I think Barkley's got this going around the outside there, exiting the oval. Sean Hayes defended it to the point where Rui Coimbra will have a look. Will the banking work to go down the inside here? He washes up a little bit, has to get out of the throttle, so around the outside's the way to go. That's where Ray Lombardi's been, and he's got speed too as they snake their way over the top of the hill. No dice for Sean Hayes, no dice for Rui Coimbra.
Wow, and that was busy, and I'm not sure it's done yet. Mitchell Peak's right on the rear bumper now. He's in that battle pack firmly.
I need your hot take, and I'll only tease you about it if the pronunciation's bad.
No promises there, but I think they're going to do it again. It's going to be too wide down the front straight here. Roy Coimbra on the outside of Ray Lombardi. We've seen how the outside line works. I promise you, one day I will tell you the hot take. And Roy Coimbra made that look really easy. I don't know if he got a little bit of help there from not a team, sorry, from Ray Lombardi, who's actually not on his team. Either way, my hot take is that little tracks like this are they're because they're so short and they're relatively simple. The difference between being really fast and being fast is so hard to overcome because you have to be so perfect on every single one of these little corners that I don't know, I just kind of enjoy this. It's almost hypnotic the way you have to race around a track like this. Oh, Ray Lombardi's got it all kinds of wrong. He's going way wide. He almost went out in the field there and let Mitchell Peak by.
Yeah, that was hard. Mitchell Peak makes a move. Ray Lombardi dropping back now.
And while we've looked away from the lead, Ronnie Coates has overtaken Camden Hibbett on this last lap. Looks like he managed to do it into the first turn last time by. And we'll see if Camden decides he wants the lead back. We're 9 laps into this thing, expecting on the order of about 37 laps, give or take.
Yeah, give or take 1 or 2. I've got 27 more to go from here, and they've 9 completed on lap 10 right now. So, yeah, around about that. Of course, it always gets a little confused around the pit stops. Exactly, the lap predictor can't predict exactly how long those pit stops are going to be and exactly what their in-lap, out-lap pace is going to be like. So after that, you get a slightly firmer idea. But this is good for the lead. Camden Hibbett just keeping Ronnie Coates in his sights, even though Coates has made this pass to go out front and lead from out front.
Yeah, not a lot of fuel to be saved in the draft around here, you got to think, with how tight and busy it is. A little bit of battling going on deeper in the pack, too. 5th position, Sean Hayes just lost the spot to Roy Coimbra, who's actually now lapping in 5th. Hayes is in 6th, and he's about to be in 7th if Mitchell Peak has his way. He's trying to push his way up the inside. And he'll hold them through 1, but Peak's going to have the run on the exit of 3. And sure enough, he does. Now, Sean's going to force him to the outside, but we've seen how that goes around here. And this time, Peak does the opposite. He goes over under, and a little twitch there from Hayes, and Hayes is paying the price right now. Mitchell Peak's going up the inside, taking another spot away here, potentially. And I'm not sure which line's the line. I guess Peak's got the over-under. And this looks like it'll be enough. Ray Lombardi shows...
Sliding through the forest there, up against some of the walls, up against some of the trees. Mitchell Peak continues to move forward after a qualifying that maybe didn't truly represent his race pace at New Hampshire.
Yeah. Well, and when it's one of these kind of oddball tracks, sometimes you just learn a thing, you know, and then all of a sudden you got an extra half second a lap that you didn't have in qualifying.
The official bird of New Hampshire is the purple finch. The official freshwater fish is the brook trout. The official saltwater fish is the striped bass. I like that they've got to split that up. It's like we've got to have a freshwater and a saltwater fish to represent our coastline and our saltwater fish, but also our, you know, clean and bubbling rivers with our freshwater brook trout.
Yeah, I mean, when you got all that good stuff, you know, you got to keep a list. I don't even know. Zach Burke had gotten away for a little bit, was running on his own in some clean air, but David Barkley's managed to close him down over the last few laps and is starting to put some pressure on. Getting like a tangy watermelon feeling from the color combination on these two cars here. Oh, and Burke got a little wide on the entry. Didn't look like he was going to get the apex, but just managed to do enough to stay on track. for those wondering, our leaders are still running nose to tail within 0.2 of each other. Just a little out of shot, but it's been a battle up there too. Cut to it. Camden Hibbett, right on the rear bumper of Ronnie Coates. And has seemed content to run behind him. Is doing a little fuel saving, it must be said. A lifting into the carousel, that could be tire saving as much as anything. Scrolling through the field, looks like we're watching a battle now, still for the lead. But there's plenty of battles out there. Keep our eyes up on this one, though. It's still pretty close.
So did we see how Orlando Herald got to the lead of open class?
I did not see that. I'll have to...
Where did Andrew Gilliland lose time? Because he's not been through the pit lane. Or has Orlando Herald always been at the leader class and I missed him as I was looking down through the list earlier?
Might very well have. He's been he's had the spot for at least a few laps now. Either way, Gilliland's staying in contact with them. It's the two of them actually just overtook Greg Mack, or Gilliland just overtook Greg Mack in the orange car there, green car, imagine colors. And
no, lap 9 was for Andrew Gilliland. He would have lost those spots because it was 8 seconds off the pace.
Okay, that makes sense. So Gilliland's lost something at some point, but he's making up the ground pretty quickly and is closing the gap on Brian Shabelski and Orlando Harrell. Greg Mack won our open class race last week, which we showed on Tuesday there on our re-live experience.
The red-spotted newt is the official amphibian of New Hampshire. A lifespan of up to 15 years, the red-spotted newt.
Up on the front straightaway, Sean Hayes is about to get overtaken by Ray Lombardi, who's going up the inside. Sean Hayes dives it in really deep, and you almost can't even see Sean Hayes. He's so far on the outside. He really prefers that wide entry to turn number 1, but it doesn't seem to pay off when you get to the exit. His line, though, managed to slow up Ray Lombardi, so I think they're going to be too wide, and I think I actually like Sean Hayes for this one. We'll see. Oh, it's busy. Ray's going to have the line and the run up the hill, I think.
Outside into this left-hander can be the place to be, but I think Lombardi's far enough ahead at the moment. He's going to still show his nose up there, but Lombardi has got it. This is the difference between yellow and gold. Right here.
Yeah, nicely executed. Ooh, got close there for a second. Really a lot of ways to do this, though, with the way the elevation is just so wild around here. Up ahead of them, a little battle pack forming for the last place on the podium. Zach Burke is being followed very closely by David Barkley and Ray Coimbra. And Burke is going to have to defend the inside. Barkley's coming up and making a move. Not quite enough for him. It is a battle around here. And while we were following those battles deeper in the field, Camden Hibbett is still following the likes of Ronnie Coates at the front.
Yeah, that's 7 seconds up the road from this battle for third.
Yeah, I thought for a second that they'd switched spots, but they have not. Ronnie's still leading. No, they did switch. Camden was leading for a bit, and Ronnie's ahead of him. Anyway, carrying on. Burke, Barkley, and Coimbra. BBC battling for third place.
In Age of Empires 2, that means Bombard Cannon. But don't
Facts.
Google it to fact check me. Burke.
What's the official artillery piece of New Hampshire? Can we get that?
Do you know what? They don't have an official artillery piece, but this official rocks section is crazy because there's an official gemstone mineral rock We're side by side here with Barkley and Burke, and man, this switchback from turn 1 to turn 2 to turn 3, it lets Burke hold on, but Barkley's been around the outside here before. The official gemstone of New Hampshire is the Smoky Quartz.
Which, contact. And they're 3 wide going up the hill, checking up Coimbra. And that's Peak taking advantage. Peak now up 7 spots on the race. Oh, and Burke's going to get the move back here on the inside of Barkley.
It's pretty crazy stuff side by side through some places you wouldn't expect passes to be made. Burke still wants the inside there, but I fancy where Barkley's at right now. Just a little bit of rough and tumble there, just a little bit of contact, and Burke will get spun around. Barkley will get spun around, and they're going to have just a little kiss to work it out. Here comes Lombardi and Hayes at...
That was the most collaborative bit of spinning and wrecking that I think I've ever seen. The two of them spun each other again, and then I think Burke straightened them all out when all was said and done. Sean Hayes comes through though, along with Ray Lombardi, and the two of them stay in the same order. Mitchell Peak now, though, up 9 positions since his start in 12th place, and he's, I think, the big winner in all of this. We see him just at the bottom of the shot there. They're still battling, though, further down. And I have to think that Burke, despite losing some time, is going to be eyes ahead, looking to make some ground up himself.
Your biggest winner is Mitchell Peak. He's now 3rd and sitting very nicely there.
Yeah, it's a great success for one Canadian, unfortunately at the expense of another Canadian. I imagine that Peak said sorry as he drove by.
Potentially. So I don't think I can draft an American to be my 2 honorary Australians here. So I'm going to take Ray Lombardi and Eugenio Pellicci. This is how the lead of the race changed. Camden Hibbert just right at Ronnie Coates' bumper into turn 1.
And while those two are taking the battle out on track, Zach Burke has actually decided to do a little bit of pit strategy. He's our first pit taker, and I do think the pit window's open, so it'll be interesting to see exactly how much fuel he needs to take on board.
Actually, you reckon I can make Simon Foweather an honorary Australian?
He's got a funky accent. That sounds fair.
I reckon I can make that happen. There's the pit stop for Zach Burke. One of the first just normal scheduled pit stops I think we've seen. Definitely shorter than Brian Chabelski's.
He's actually going to come out right behind Jordy Fike and Simon Foweather. And Fike and Foweather are having a little bit of a battle amongst themselves. Ray Lombardi is in chase mode. He's got Sean Hayes behind, but about 3 seconds up the road, he has the next battle between Peak and Coimbra, and I think that's where he'd really like to be.
Yeah, we also saw Tom Athorn go for the pit lane, and you see it's a very small deviation from the racing line to then point yourself to the pit entry there. From this road course configuration. There's some other ones where you do go out here on this little road course loop, but then you use more of the banking in the interior. So there's a few combinations. The same thing, of course, is true of Homestead, Miami.
Watching Mitchell Peak, but Coates and Camden, Coates and Camden, are really close up at the front actually right now. I think they're might be spoiling for either a battle or a pit stop. We'll see. And
Coates is like looking and then doesn't. But he's thinking about it.
It's tricky because with that
to rock
pit
a
lane,
rhyme that's right on time, it's tricky.
Yeah, exactly. The pit lane being right there, the speed limit starts really early too. So you got to slam on the brakes kind of, and you got to do it safely. So I don't know if you go narrow and brake towards the wall of the pit lane, or you kind of try and swoop it in. Ooh, Camden gets a little deep. Seems to make it work, though.
Swoop like the purple finch, the official insignia bird of the state of New Hampshire.
I'm sure it's something like that.
Or maybe you'll
Pit
flutter
lane.
like the ladybug, the official insect.
Oh, that feels like a gimme. Greg Mack is on the pit lane too. He's wearing a decidedly un-ladybug-like color. Rejoining our lead battle though, Camden Hibbett and Coates are still nose to tail. Oh, and Camden hits the brakes pretty hard. Checks up Coates a little bit. And the two of them, they definitely haven't sorted this out yet. I think we might get to watch this one for the next 20 minutes. Neither one seems to be able to find a consistent edge. And this time Camden's about as narrow as he can be through there. So I still think that that braking zone's a little tricky. There's not any brake markers really going on the way in.
It's basically no one not in a battle at this point. Everyone's in just a 2-3 car little battle all through the field, and a few of them could reunite once the wave of pit stops is well and truly in, and we're not far away from that with 18 minutes left on the clock for round 5 of Spec-5 World Tour Season 15 from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Our leaders scoot on by the pit lane, and a lot of the stops I've seen so far are definitely on the shorter side compared to the flat-out high speeds of Silverstone, where they're not flat out on the throttle quite as far around this tighter course.
Coates is checking up a little bit again for Camden Hibbett through the S's this time. Camden's kind of parking it everywhere, I think, to keep Coates behind. He's managed to make the move now and get that spot. No, he did that a while ago. The two cars with the similar liveries is getting me. I gotta think this would be a really good track to watch a race at, because I bet you from that front grandstand you can probably see nearly the whole racetrack.
I suspect you can probably see Mount Washington. Like, I'm almost not kidding, I think.
Yeah, watch the hill climb and the race on the same day from the same seat.
Yeah, that's value for
Best
money.
value in racing.
Or maybe you'll watch this race from the top of Mount Washington.
There you go. $1 at a time into those little, tourist binoculars. Yeah. I like that.
I reckon it's probably
busy
one
at the front.
quarter at a time.
Hibbett gets a little jump over that inside curb and it unsettles the car, and that's enough to let Coates by up the inside. We'll see it here. He hits that curb and it just kind of unsteadies the car, and just that little shimmy is enough to let Coates by. I would say at this point that the advantage is on Coates' side. He seems to be able to just find that little bit extra and get by Camden a little more consistently.
On the way back to the speedway. They're both pushing on here. We've had a couple more drives to pit lane. Simon Foweather's just stopped. Now our leaders come around by pit entry, and again, not this time, but it can't be too much longer. There'll be a few other callers as well. You've got the two-way fight for the lead. Two-way fight for third, Mitchell Peake and Rui Coimbra. And two-way fight behind that, Ray Lombardi and Sean Hayes right now. Rui Coimbra pits.
Yeah, it's pitted from fourth place. He decides he can't get it done on track. He might as well go into the pit lane and try and do it. Simon Foweather's on his out lap. We're watching Coimbra roll down the pit lane here. And now we're watching the leaders come up the hill. And Fullweather's come out of the pits, and he's right behind these guys. And the two of them are close again over the hill. I love this little corner. It's just sweeping off camber, kind of left-hander. I think it's in camber, out of camber, in camber, all the way down the hill.
Oh, here we go. Camden Hibbett alongside now, heading towards turn 1. Ronnie Coates seems to roll out of that one and brake a little bit earlier. Official rock of New Hampshire is granite.
Wonder if it's a piece of granite on the inside of the next turn here, up the right-hander.
Or it's either that or it's smoky quartz.
I feel like we could publish this as an educational video today.
That's where we're going to get our sweet, sweet tax credits. One of the 3 official foods.
Oh, do I ever.
Official fruit is pumpkin. Official vegetable is white potato. Official berry is the blackberry.
The white potato, eh?
Yeah, man. Pumpkin and potato is like, okay, that's exciting.
Hey, you don't speak ill of the pumpkin there, sir. You and your inferior Australian squashes.
Jody Fikes out of the pit lane. And you have an acre and and then another acre of pit exit there. It's just all fair game so long as you don't merge before the white line. And so Jody Fike comes out just in front of Simon Further, who was battling previously.
Our leaders are starting to get into this lap traffic a little bit. Camden Hibbett's coming up the hill, leading now with Ronnie Coates just behind. The two of them been swapping positions again. And the two of them are also coming up on that bright green car of Greg Mack. You're seeing it just ahead. And with the difference in paces here, what would we call that? That's maybe a 2 seconds lap, second and a half a lap. I got to think they'll be right up on him here. Catch him at the wrong spot, though, and this could be painful.
Andrew Gilliland's on pit lane, and he was the open class leader. In a surprise to absolutely no one, Orlando Herald hasn't pitted yet.
And pit lane for Camden Hibbett. Decides he doesn't want to brave overtaking Greg Mack, who promptly pulls over down the straightaway and lets the other pro class driver by.
Yeah, so there's the split. Ronnie Coates carries on. No worries at all lapping Greg Mack, but Camden Hibbett is in. Mitchell Peake is in. Are we going to see the whole rest of the field as well? We are, as Ray Lombardi, Sean Hayes, and fingers crossed for David Barkley all hit pit lane. No, okay, there we go. David Barkley doing things his own way.
Yeah, going long. Orlando Harrell and Otis Adams are coming through the SS2. And we'll see if that's going to be a stop for them this time. Looks like Otis carries on, and so does Orlando Harrell. We're going to get a nice little draft battle actually down the front straight. Otis is looking up the inside while Camden comes out of turn number 2. And deep down the inside goes Harrell, but he slides it in so deep that, that was Otis up the inside. Slides it, and it looked for a moment like it was trouble, but it wasn't. And Orlando's going to give that spot up easily. Ronnie Coates is coming through the back half again. Oh, and they're too wide. And Coates hits the pit lane. And that's Mitchell Peake actually getting passed by Rui Coimbra. That's an interesting thing. Peake's just come out of the pit lane. Am I getting that right? Yeah, just come out of the pit lane has Peake. So I wonder if he's taking tires or not.
I don't think anyone would or really had time. Ronnie Coates is on the lane. The track map shows you the difference between Ronnie Coates and Camden Hibbett, previously battling for the lead. David Barkley will now pit. We still need Otis Adams Jr. and Orlando Harrell a little bit later on in this one. Yeah, and Otis is in now. So this is the lead battle. Camden Hibbert just slightly ahead at the moment. Ronnie Coates out of pit lane, having taken his fuel. Slots in behind, and it's a 10-minute fight. A rumble to the finish.
And a rumble will be around here. There's lots of chances in these kind of low-speed corners to just, do some intimidator stuff and just lay a bumper to a guy, get him a little loose. I wonder if we'll see any of that today.
New Hampshire red chicken is the official poultry of New Hampshire. This list is insane, dude. Crazy.
Jordy Fike is coming across the start-finish line looking to make a move. 15th place. And he's going to do it. He dives late up the inside of Greg Mack. This is for position and points. Points class, of course, in the Spec-5 World Series, split up by class, but based on your finishing position. And overtaking those pro class drivers can be valuable if you're an open class guy. Little shimmy and shake there from Orlando Harrell, and he's going to take his pit stop and let Zach Burke by. And after the pit stops, Mitchell Peak has found himself all the way down in 5th place, with Zach Burke retaking the 3rd step of the podium, but feeling a lot of pressure from Roy Coimbra.
Incredible amount of curb there from Coimbra as well.
Now, Zach Burke was so wide he nearly clipped the tires on the exit. Those two are making it fun. And the way this thing just kind of slingshots you out of there, that's got to be a blast. It's just a real compression to drive.
In 2021, Governor of New Hampshire signed a bill declaring the daring jumping spider the official spider of New Hampshire. That feels like it's oppressing my culture.
Yeah, I was just saying, I thought daring jumping spider, that sounds like Australia, man. Oh, they're busy still. Mitchell Peak is watching a little bit of battle here, still between Coimbra and Burke. Coimbra looking for his opportunity, but hasn't found an open lane yet, and Burke's still holding the door shut. Such a critical run up this hill, getting this corner right. And I think that if you are too tight coming up the hill, you're going to scrub some extra speed. Because you got to have those wheels cranked. And I think Peak is just kind of being patient here, waiting for the two of them to get side by side. Because as soon as they do, he'll have an overwhelming momentum advantage.
The battle for the lead has absolutely sailed, but this is the fight for the final step on the podium. Mitchell Peak in 5th, watching Rui Coimbra and Zach Burke as we come through the twisty infield final corners.
So interesting to see these guys braking hard in a straight line and touching the grass. Zach Burke's on the outside now. Rui Coimbra coming up the inside, going into one. And Coimbra's going to get it done before they turn in.
Yep, so Coimbra goes up into 3rd. 18 seconds behind the race leader. That's Camden Hibbert at the moment from Ronnie Coates. 6 more laps, we think.
Camden seemed like he had something for a couple laps there, but all of a sudden Coates has gone and taken 2/10 out of him. That battle's still closing up. We'll let you know if they get to real door-to-door action. In the meantime, this battle for 3rd place is still pretty interesting. Peak is lurking in the background, but I think he's seeing Coimbra starting to pull away from Burke ahead.
So the open class battle has Andrew Gilliland returned to the lead. Greg Mack just ahead of Orlando Herald at the moment as well. So Herald in black, Mack in green. Herald's stop was much longer than you would have expected from the driver who was the last driver to pit as well.
We're down to 5 laps to go next time by. And they tick off quick here. And lots of action out on track, but not a lot of overtakes happening at this phase. Track's still real cold. There's single file through the carousel, Mitchell Peak, the caboose, Reed Coimbra at the front. Still holding that straight line, and now it looks like Burke's got a little bit of pace up at the front. They're busy again. Now Coates right on the rear bumper. Camden, he's trying to get some overlap. Camden gets that real push from the banking. He gets there a little bit earlier because he's wider on the exit. Coates hasn't quite found a way to make this work.
He's gotten there, he's gotten super close, and he's been staring at Camden Hibbett's rear bumper for a lap or two now. And it's time to think about making the move.
With a young gun like Camden, I don't know if you want to do the move too early, because you got to think he's going to be real aggressive trying to get it back.
Good run out of that left-hander seems pretty important. A lot of the passing's happened into turn 1. So a lot of the passing back and forth between these two has happened. 3 minutes left. 3 more laps.
And 3/10 between them.
And then the next group. Rory Coimbra ahead of Zach Burke. Mitchell Peak making no progress just yet. Ray Lombardi runs 6th from Tom Athon 7th. Sean Hayes back in 8th. And then Andrew Gilliland, Brian Jabelski, Otis Adams 9th, 10th, 11th.
Camden makes that exit work again. Just slams the door on Ronnie Coates when they go up the hill every time. If Coates gets even an ounce of overlap and Camden runs that line, it's going to be tragedy. About 20 seconds between them and the next battle back, though. You can afford to get pretty aggressive here. Oh, and they do. I think Coates gave him a little punt through there. You'd have heard that.
Got close.
Yeah, if you were in real Spec Miatas, you'd have felt that one on your rear bumper at the apex. Not enough to spin you, but enough to move you. Run this time from Coates. He's looking up the inside.
Yeah, here we go. Down the inside for Ronnie Coates for the lead of the race with 2 laps to go. The switch back from Camden Hibbett. Round the outside of 2. Take the inside of 3. Great move. Great fight back. Didn't feel the need to defend turn 1 too much because he knew Coates would have to dive in shallow and he knew he could do that. Now they're going to be side by side through the right-hander here. We've seen the outside work, but I don't think Camden Hibbett's going to give much space to the outside. Not that Ronnie Coates needs too much. He is utterly persistent. 2 right-handers around the outside to the inside now of the banked left-hander in the outfield.
They're 3 wide for 3rd place. Zach Burke's just gotten shuffled all the way back to 5th place, and that's Mitchell Peak on his outside, and Rory Coimbra holding 2nd. We'll see it here. They're 3 wide coming out of the exit of turn number 2. Back to the lead, though. Things are still spicy. Camden
All happening in the final minutes. The Spec-5 World Tour. This is back on the live pictures for the lead. The white flag will wave for them in just a moment's time as they come out of the final corner onto the front stretch of New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Camden Hibbett
holding on is Camden Hibbett as they go into the first turn, trying to hold off Ronnie Coates. And Coates is going to try every single little trick he's got in that veteran bag right now. He's going to get an overlap, but he dives out of it. He knows that was going to end in tragedy.
2/10 of a second, but Hibbert's just slightly further ahead than he was last time. No side-by-side through here, but that's where Ronnie Coates seems to get just a little more grip. But not enough. Up the hill now, heading towards the bank left-hander. Camden Hibbert still has his nose in front. Both of them are going to trim the grass just a little bit. The state of New Hampshire that doesn't have an official grass that I can tell per the list. But over the top of the hill, you've got so few real overtaking opportunities left in the lap. But Ronnie Coates is close and he's skilled and he's daring and he can be brave. Camden Hibbert can be both of those things as well, as he has 2 car lengths coming into the final corner.
And sure enough, it's going to be Camden Hibbert who holds off Ronnie Coates and takes the checkered flag here at New Hampshire from Ronnie Coates. And Roy Coimbra went into the final lap on the podium, but Zach Burke got him in going into the first turn, and Zach Burke is going to take the 3rd step of the podium for Canada.
And presumably and Otis Adams are also swapping places back and forth there as well, all happening on the final lap. Zach Burke does finish 3rd from Coimbra and Peak. And Spalski and Adams will fight this one out to the end. They're just behind Andrew Gilliland, who's the open class leader. Greg Mack remains ahead of Orlando Harrell, and there's a small margin there as well.
Yeah, Greg Mack is looking in his rearview mirror. You got to think. We'll see. It looks like Otis is going to sort that out, and Mack.
So Gilliland will take the open class, and here is Mack and Harrell. Is Mack spluttering on a little bit of fuel here? Harrell's got a good run off the final corner. Surely Greg Mack holds on. He does, but it got close. Simon Foweather, I'm sure he says a lot.
Yeah, sad about that one. I got to think, but well, good racing, and I got to think that this course is just a blast to drive. I'm putting it on the list. I'd like to come out and do this one sometime.
Yeah, little underrated. There was some other ovals that used to have road courses like this. They sort of like pop out through the back straight and shoot around. Texas might have been one of them. And there's one in Australia, Calder Park Speedway, that does the same. Interesting. There's a road course outside of the oval, and then a combined layout. And Lausitzring in Germany does the same. A lot of them. Interesting. A little bit of speedway road course combination. The Roval is the popular thing now, but road courses like this are pretty good as well. So we'll get to these results, and of course, keeping in mind that the drivers' number board colours, the golds, the bronze, they are the supporters who make the league and the broadcast possible. Camden Hibbert with the win from Ronnie Coates and Zach Burke. Ronnie Coates, championship leader. That second place won't dent his hopes too badly. And then we had Rui Coimbra, Mitchell Peak, Ray Lombardi, Tom Ayton, Sean Hayes, Andrew Gilliland as the open class leader, then Brian Spalski, Otis Adams, Geordie Fike, Simon Foweather, Greg Mack, Orlando Harrell, and David Barkley dropping back late on in that race and ending up the lap down. Eugenio Pollicci in early retirement, and for reasons unknown, the only club New Englander, Jose Gonzalez, didn't take the start of the race. Maybe he got attacked by a daring jumping spider.
Seems like the most likely thing. Speaking of the most likely thing, it was Team Hibbert today, because not only did Camden Hibbert secure the Pro Class win, his teammate Andrew Gilliland secured the Open Class win. Andrew.
Yeah, it was an awesome race, man. It was shocking to see such a small open field. Sadly, only 3 cars, but just had to run a race and try to win it, and that's how it ended up.
Looked like you were pretty comfortable out here. You ever done some laps in New Hampshire before?
I have not. I actually just picked it up on Wednesday. Just bought it out of the iRacing store, and I was just running laps. And, I kind of got in the groove of it. I'm definitely a fan of these kind of fast and flowy tracks.
Yeah, it looked like a fun little circuit there. You got a favorite corner?
Probably had to be turn 4. Just I love the way the car kind of grabs on once you go up that hill. It really it's nice to drive.
That looks like a good time. Looked like a pretty smooth race for you, all things considered, too. Early on, maybe it looked like there was a little bit of a battle, but looked like you were able to make a pretty solid gap, almost 15 seconds back to the next driver in open class.
Yeah, tonight I just really had pace in the Aussie car, and it was just nice to be able to kind of edge that car on and keep moving and just extend that gap more and more. Protect the undercut, because I know a couple of the guys I was battling with, like Greg Mack and Brian Sabelski, kind of pit early for like an undercut. I just had to I knew I had to have that pace in order to keep that first position in front of them. So yeah, just everything kind of played out the right way tonight, and it was just a good race overall.
Oh, great performance, and we really appreciate the quality racing you're doing out there. The Youth Revolution showing its face tonight.
Yep.
Anyone you need to shout out today?
I'd like to thank Aussie Sales and Heat Total Facility Solutions, and I'd like to thank my grandpa and my parents and my family and everybody who watches and supports as I race. And I'd like to thank also HJBC for putting this whole show on, and Spec-5 for just being a league and having the opportunity to race in it.
Pleasure.
Yep, thank you.
It's not Texas Motor Speedway, it was Texas World Speedway that used to have a road course that extended outside of the speedway, so not quite in the Houston area, but outside of Houston, not the one outside of Dallas. We can move to our pro class winner, hopefully. Yep, sure can. As Cams Inhibit joins us. You went back and forth with Ronnie Coates all race long there. What was the thinking early on before the pit stops?
Yeah, it was just kind of a fuel save game, honestly. We were both. I decided to lead the majority of the first 15-ish laps. We swapped. I kind of let him by, let him lead some, so I could save a little bit more. And we just did that really until the pit stop. And then after the pit stop, it was game on. We went, and I think we put on a pretty good show for the broadcast, hopefully. And it definitely was a fun race to be a part of, for sure.
You have to get up close to the walls to go quick around here as well, by the looks of things.
Yes, for sure. This track is, you got to really be on edge of at this track. The car is constantly going to be wanting to slide around on you. One thing I did my first practice laps today, and one thing that really stood out to me, it felt like a grassroots track. It didn't feel like some of the big tracks we go to, like Spa or Sebring. It really felt like you really have to throw this car around here to be fast, and that's something I do in the real world with my Spec Miata. Is most of the tracks I go to are grassroots tracks. You really got to be aggressive, and it felt like home here today. It was a really fun race, and also huge shout out to teammate and Andrew Gilliland on his open win. Really strong run by him tonight.
So what about, I think, a key moment of the race that we saw, that switchback when Ronnie Coates went for the lead, and you kind of had his number on that one and played his game?
Yeah, I kind of had an idea of what he was thinking. I was definitely thinking of where and what he was going to try and do, for sure. Just because this track doesn't have a ton of draft like some of the tracks we go to in these cars, and you really have to play your moves really different and unique in this track. So it's kind of thinking and going through what his possible moves were going to be. And that one popped up into my head as one that was not necessarily going to be easy, but definitely doable. And I was just waiting for him to go a little bit wide, get that run on the switchback, and just fight it out through 3, and then was able to defend the run into 4, and held him off the rest of the way. But super fun racing. I know I ran out of fuel out of turn 3 on the cooldown lap, and I'm sure Ronnie was much closer than even that, probably. So really a fuel strategy race tonight, as well as some awesome racing at the front.
Awesome. Congrats to you. Good team result. Hopefully plenty more racing in Spec-5 World Tour this season.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that we can run a couple more. I was out of town for round 3. Then last week we had some weather issues that wasn't able to take part in. So hoping to get to some more races. Is always some fun racing here with Spec-5.
Oh, and we're having some technical difficulties, but thanks for coming out and putting on a good show. Anyone you need to shout out today?
Yeah, all my partners, Buyers Automotive, Rainier Construction, Team Spirit Custom Trailers, Aussie Sales, Auto Smarts Radio. These guys make what I do in real life possible, and definitely help me in the sim as well. And my teammates at PRG, not running in this series full time, but definitely have helped my driving. My parents, mom and dad, have definitely helped for sure with everything on track, but also the off track stuff as well. Wouldn't be able to do it without everybody that has helped me get here in real life and in the sim. So it's gonna be a fun year in real life, and looking to keep the momentum going here in iRacing.
Awesome. We'll catch you around, and best of luck.
Thank you.
There we have it. Our winners from both classes. Camden Hibbett, Pro Class winner, his friend and teammate Andrew Gilliland as Open Class winner from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Spec-5 World Tour continues to come at you weekly for the remainder of the season. And I'm looking at that right now. Zandvoort on the national layout, which I think is that slightly shorter one, cuts out some of the less pronounceable names like Skyvlak, and then VIR, Road America, Bathurst, Misano, Mid-Ohio, the Nürburgring, Nordschleife, and Le Mans to see out the season. So plenty of exciting tracks still to come, and we'll see you in a week's time on HJBC when we bring you live coverage of round 6 of Spec-5 World Tour.